Hi, I'm Sheldon. We're back again. Today we're going to talk about how to build unstoppable confidence. So today I've got my friend with me, Joe Collins. He's one of my work colleagues that I work at the gym with, and he's also a specialist in overcoming mindset and helping to build inner confidence. So I thought it'd be a perfect guest to bring on and find out a bit more about what Joe specialises in, and if it can help any of you guys out, bring some tips. Let's see how it goes.
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's a real pleasure.
You're welcome, man. So Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, just so the people, just so the people that are watching can get a bit of an idea of who you are.
So my background really is in rugby league. I earned a professional rugby league contract at the age of 16, but unfortunately from then on it didn't go to plan. An incident happened that would change my life, or I would let change my life, because of my rugby league career and signing for Warrington, being a Wigan lad. I got jumped on a night out by 4 lads who were previously my best friends, but I let this incident ruin my career. Instead of just getting on with my life, getting on with my focus where I wanted to go and not letting it stop me, I became focused on these lads. I became focused on getting them back for what they'd done for me. Instead of playing my game from week to week, I was only bothered about hurting them, but getting them back. I let the anger destroy my own career, destroy my own life, spiraled into drinking too much, taking drugs, got out to that, then I spiraled into other businesses, sort of spending my money in the wrong way because I'm looking for something to make myself feel better, to make up for messing up my rugby career, and end up in 60 grand's worth of debt back in the 2019, personal debt, a debt help scheme and a lot. So then I decided, right, I need to stop feeling sorry for myself. Mental health was a big thing, suicide, I lost a few friends to suicide. I thought, what was I going to do to turn into a positive? Decided to write my own book, From Dark Nights to Brighter Days, in 2021, to inspire people, to get people to realise that it's okay to talk, but to get out of a bad situation in your life, you've got to help yourself. You can't feel sorry for yourself, you've got to be productive, be working on yourself, 100%. Using your past to turn into a positive and focus on getting better and building the life you want to have. And stop taking the easy route and making excuses and looking for negatives, and follow on with the worldview of, times are tough, there's a financial crisis, there's this going on, there's that going on. You could have anything you wanted to if your mindset was right and you was being positive and looking for a purpose in your life. So that's the basis of mine, mate.
Mate, you killed it. I think Joe just set the world to rights there. Mate, I completely, So I know your story, you went through some hard times where,
Yeah.
I think having your friends bully you or go through a time where, you feel some disloyalty from people you put a lot of trust in, that can break you, man. That can be quite, that can play a big role on your sort of mental health sort of thing. Especially when it's friends or loved ones or close ones, where you sort of go through that betrayal. Getting beat up. We've all been bullied before. Well, I say we've all been, but I think most of us experience some sort of bullying in our life at some point. And while I don't agree with bullying, I will have to reflect and say, you know what? I can honestly say I've taken some positives out of the experience, and I've turned that around and made it into something that I can learn from and build myself better from. And I think my story stems from that in terms of how I built my own sort of inner confidence. And so, I'd like to hear a bit more about that then. So tell me a bit more about your experience of getting bullied and how you sort of went down this path of self-destruction into really your own rugby career and stuff like that.
So the event happened, and I was brought up. My dad, I always say the story, took me to the gym for the age of being 10. Because I thought I was a bit soft at primary school, to be honest. I came home one day, said I was being bullied, thought, right, I go in the gym, boxing, weights, fitness, and this did me really good in my young rugby career. I was fitter than most people, the first one into the gym. But then when this incident happened at 17, went back down that old route of, we'll get him back on the pitch, we'll just hurt him more, we'll dominate him, and use it to sort of try and drive me, channel it into my rugby game. But it didn't work, because I was going out drinking every weekend. You do at 17, and I couldn't switch off because them lads would still be about. It's like, is someone else going to go on? I couldn't relax. And then in my training, all I was bothered about was being angry. All I was bothered about was being this man who could be the angriest, he'd be the toughest, he'd be, protect himself, instead of hating my life a bit and hating the world. And it fueled me the wrong way, really. And I never really got the chance to play against these lads. But when I got my game against Wigan, some of these lads didn't end up playing that game. I was that hyped up, I got sent off. Took a lad out cold, hit him round the neck, I got sent off and we lose. So I'm like, I built myself up that much, it actually became a negative. And looking back at the time, I should have gone and spoke to people, gone and, maybe a bit of therapy, or spoke to the right person who's got it off my chest and thought about it and forgot about it, but used it to fuel my life to be better. Instead of to get them back, I should have used that negative energy to think, how can I become a better rugby player, how can I become a better person, how can I use it to fuel me to make the world a better place instead? But it was all about getting them back, being angry, being tough.
Taking revenge route.
Basically, yeah, but on the rugby pitch. And then I did that incident, then I got another shot in the team after that and got sent off again. I actually got an 8-game ban for this sending off because the poor lad got knocked out cold again. And within a year, my career at Warrington was done, all through what I'd let that night out do to me. I was doing really well before then. It was really positive. The sky was the limit at the club. But after that incident, I just let it spiral me, and 2 years later I was released. It was bye-bye, like.
Released. It's
Yeah.
a convicted sentence, doesn't it? With being in that sort of situation.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. I mean, sounds pretty rough. Sounds like a path of, like you're saying, like a self-destructive path. While I think it's, in itself, it's got a good little story there, where you've been bullied. In whatever form it was.
Yeah.
Through friends, or the school bully, or whatever it might be that some people are experiencing at work or whatnot. And instead of withdrawing into that and letting that beat you, and you beating yourself down, and then because I think that in itself can be quite self-destructive.
Yeah, 100%.
Because
yeah.
there's different types of bullying. There's mental bullying, where someone's abusive verbally and they're just at you, or there's physical abuse. Now we can all sort of, we can all clearly see what physical bullying's like. It leaves marks, it leaves bruises, there's scars, scratches, whatever it might be. You know where you stand. Like, you've been punched, and the only way of beating a bully like that is to generally overcome them. And in your journey, that's sort of what you've done, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've been lucky enough to have a dad there that's had your back and said, right, you're gonna deal with your problems head on. You're gonna go to the gym. You're gonna learn how to fight. You're gonna man up basically and become a man and take care of your own problems. And I think that in itself is a massive message that we should all take away from and learn that when it comes to sort of being a man, there's a stage in your life that you've got to rise up to to that sort of situation, that occasion, and you've got to take charge. You've got to take control back, But when it comes to mental bullying, it's a bit of a different place now, because I think in some instances, while it's not as intense or aggressive as physical bullying, it's a bit more. It can be more dangerous in a sense, because you can start believing what they're saying, and then you turn on yourself. Do you know what I mean? So in a sense of if someone's calling you ugly or fat, or someone's really going at you in some way, let's just say you've got a small dick or something like that, or for some men in some instances, whatever it might be. It's just an example, them sort of words are thrown about these days with women, small dick energy and stuff like that. And, if you're getting bullied in that capacity, and it's coming at you day to day, and you're not sort of getting, any sort of escape from it. After a while, you can go home and you start questioning yourself, and then your own brain or your own mind starts saying, well, am I? Do I? Am I this ugly, or am I this fat, or am I this weak, am I this pathetic? And that itself is the most dangerous, because when you stop believing yourself, when you stop becoming your own cheerleader, when you stop becoming your own best weapon, your own best friend, that's when it becomes self-destructive, and that's where a lot of men these days are taking their own lives. Do you know what I mean? And it might not just be through bullying, it could be other pressures as well. And if that's an added pressure on top of everything else, then you're sort of fighting a losing battle, aren't you?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And the power of anger too, mate. Coming from a martial arts background, of how you've got to channel your anger, but it's like you said, dealing with it, manning up, facing up to things in life, but very careful with your anger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anger and fear can be your best friends if you channel them the right way. But getting angry, which men are more likely to do, can be the path to self-destruction. It's got to be something you control, and are very careful with how you use it and how much you let it eat you up.
Yeah, definitely. So what would your sort of, taking that experience now that you've gone through, and you've ruined your sort of rugby career from doing that, what sort of lessons would you say you've taken from that whole experience? You've been bullied, let's just say you've been bullied, that sort of loyalty or trust that you had in people that you felt close to you has gone.
Yeah.
You felt weak and vulnerable at the time. You've then been picked up by your dad, and he said, let's get back on it, let's sort it out, become more of a man, get physically stronger, get bigger, and take your problems, take charge of your situation, let's attack it head on. Whenever it comes again, you'll be ready for it. Not that you're going to go look for it, you'll be ready for it, and you'll be able to protect anybody that's around you, especially yourself. And then you've actually gone over the mark, and then you've channeled that energy a bit too excessively,
Yeah.
and you've started taking that on other victims, and you've then become the bully yourself, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? So what would you take from that?
So one, use it to better your own life instead of to beat them. The only way to beat someone who's been negative towards you is have a better life, be happier, have better relationships, be more successful, and you have a more positive life. And two, they don't really matter. They was my friends, but not really. So what they did, even though it hurt me, or their opinion doesn't really matter, because if their opinion was worth bothering about, they wouldn't have done that. They'd have been a good bloke, you know, they'd have been a decent bloke living a better life and doing positive things. So two, their opinion doesn't matter. And three, I obviously should have spoke about it more. I should have gone into the stuff I've got into recently about reading about mindset, you know, being around better people who can advise me better, not just being around tough men who was angry and aggressive, but people who say emotionally strong, could say the right words to me, could listen to me and give me some better ideas about how to deal with it, how to better my life from it. Instead of just all anger, fight.
Yeah, I get it. I'll be honest though, like if in that situation though, like it's not the best way of going about challenging your energy. But I mean, like, look at the person you was to the person you are now. Like, on a confidence front, like, where would you say you are? What's the difference? And then which would you rather be?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you know, it's that whole thing of everything happening for a reason. I always believe the words I use at every school, I go into the words that changed my life forever was, remember, life is always happening for you, not to you. So even though it broke me, without it, I wouldn't have the gift of being sat here today, telling the story, having these great conversations and, you know, helping people with the mental health. So it's been a gift to me really. At the time it wasn't, but it's definitely been a gift to me in my life to, you know, to better my life and make my life a special place.
Definitely. And you know, in that lesson as well, I was just thinking that if me and you used to go out now, we'd have a nice drink, let's just say we're out in a pub somewhere, I mean, I don't typically not my sort of scene, but if we used to go out and have a nice funny drink after this or whatnot, it got late, and then for some reason a couple of guys started on us, like someone spilled a drink, and it easily happens, someone bumps into somebody else, and then, you know, it gets a bit out of hand, and then someone starts throwing shots. Like, I would be confident in myself that I can look after myself, and also feel even more confident that Joe would also be able to back himself up, and he won't just run off and leave me. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the situation you don't want to be in as well. Because when you're talking about loyalty as well, I think you measure that, you know, a man is measured by the amount of respect he's gained, but also like how loyal he is as well. And that can be in relationships with your families, or it could be like as a friend. And I think if you've got weak friends around you, regardless, like, they're a burden to you, and they'll only prove themselves as not true friends if they don't, you know, if they don't back you in any situation. Do you know what I mean? So being able to look after yourself, like going through that sort of confidence shift, knowing the limits to your strength and your anger, has allowed you now to calm that back. Do you know what I mean? And like sort of be like, okay, I can take care of myself, I can look after myself, but at the same time, like, I know where my boundaries are with that as well. It's almost like I've got power and I don't want to abuse it. So
of course. Do you know what I mean? It goes back to the Jordan Peterson saying that you mentioned last week about being a monster, but learn how to control it and use yourself as a force for good.
You know, there's a few good quotes that I've heard recently about that. And one is, I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than be a gardener in a war. And it's sort of like, you sort of see, you know, it's better to be prepared for a situation than not prepared. And I think that's, you know, that's an important message to sort of carry in life regardless. Do you know what I mean? And there's another great quote as well that I sort of heard. And it was about most good men that have generally are like decent men, but like real men, you know what I mean? They've been through so much trauma and hardship, and you wonder why they always carry a smile on their face, or why they're always, you know, good men. And it's something along the lines of, like, you don't know the amount of anger and violence it took to be this calm. Do you know what I mean? And I think, you know what, when you sort of really let that sink in, you think, wow, that man's been through some stuff to be calm and like gentle or whatnot. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, you know, that can fit any situation. So tell me a bit more then about you sort of what's happened since then. Have you seen these guys since all that situation, and what's gone on with regards to you? Like writing this book,
so
this book out, right?
Well, the first point to see them since, I might have bumped into the odd one of them once or twice, but it's been a bit different really, I'd call it. Bumped into one and we sort of made a half an apology, but then tried to criticise me on something else. So I was like, bye, I'm not, you either come up full apologise and speak like a man, or, I'll leave you to it.
I can respect that.
Another one sort of approached me in the gym at a bit of a weird time while I was working about, the stuff I've been doing the past year or two with podcast boot. So, wasn't really the best way to do it, or a way that would make me gain any more respect for them back, instead of let's sit down, let's coffee over it, just make some peace with it. To my sort of journey since, is like I say, mate, it's just now like I'm obsessed with just being the best I can be, and achieving the most I can achieve, being the best person I can be, and being able to make a difference in other people's lives, and be the light in people's dark tunnel, and just make the best out of my own life, and just realise how good of a place life actually is, even through all the pain, the suffering, the things you go through. How it makes you, there's so much more positives in the world than negatives. There's so much more good energy and good people about, and focus on them, and spend my time laughing and hugging people and making people better people, rather than fighting and scrapping and being angry and trying to beat people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the journey I'm on, mate. What about yourself, mate? Where does your inspiration to be this, strong man you've become, and your obsession with being the best and the mentally toughest you can be stem from?
It's a question. Yeah, it's a good question. I think I've come from a single mum background, so that's where mine is, and I think there's a lot of statistics that are coming out nowadays that are showing that people from single mum backgrounds tend to be the ones that tend to go off track in life a lot more. Fortunately, in some way or other, I've ended up in a place where I've not gone down that road. Where my journey started, I think personally, what's kept me in track on the line is that I've always been in some sort of martial arts or some sort of like training. And whereas it's been easy to go in and out of the streets and do daft things like when I'm younger, which I can hold my hand up and say, I've been in the streets and done a little bit. Martial arts has always kept me in a good place. Do you know what I mean? So I think I started getting into martial arts when I was like 7, did a bit of karate, then went into boxing when I was like 11, and then from there, like, I've always grown up around strong lads and hard lads. You know what I mean? Like, we've all, lads with lots of brothers and stuff like that. Like, one of my close mates, he's like same age as me, we're similar height and build. Me and him were like brothers, literally best friends, and he's had 2 older brothers, and they bullied us as we grew up, all the way through. And they've always like physically strong lads, come from like a tough households, and other friends that I've had, so it's always been the same. I think back in the days, it was like your parents hitting you was not a bad thing. It was almost expected. So I think my environment's always been like a victim background. So I've had to be tough. I've had to sort of grow up and be at least look after myself. And it's put me in a position where, like most people, you either become a victim and let it eat you, or you try to rise to it. So I've always thought, like, again, I've always tried to work toward being fit, channel that energy and trying to be stronger, trying to be better, trying to be fitter, trying to learn how to defend myself in case situations come. And it's only, as later on in life you get that, you sort of develop this sort of mindset. And I think, for me, I've developed this sort of confidence and mindset from being a very shy kid, from just being on my own and having to do it, but being in an environment where it's constantly challenging you to be stronger, to be better, to be fitter, you know what I mean? And I'll be honest, I've done that stuff in the streets where, again, you're around that sort of egotism, that sort of like fuels you to be the hardest or the bad man or the top G, or do you know what I mean? So when you're hanging around with lads who are like, I'm a G and I'm a gangster, and like when you sort of have that environment, you don't want to become victim to it, do you know what I mean? So I've always channeled my energy into martial arts, and I've always tried to be fit and strong, learn how to fight, and you go to love that sort of environment, do you know what I mean? You end up meeting some great guys and you share that passion, and that's where my confidence comes from. A lot of it in how I've developed my mindset though has literally been through self-talk. Constant self-talk. When you get bullied, again, you either become your worst enemy or you become your best friend. And mine's always been, no, you're gonna get stronger. We'll do them eventually. Like we'll do this, or do you know what I mean? Having that sort of mindset, and I've always believed in myself. I've had friends around me that been through the same things and like, well, you know, believe in yourself or do this and you can. It's just been a constant reinforcement of having a good environment and putting myself in that environment and taking action on what I'm, you know, what my environment's dictating me to do. Instead of looking for an excuse, I've looked for a solution. And in that, it's just end up developing my mindset. And I think this is an important thing that a lot of people don't do these days when they're trying to like lose weight or they're trying to, you know, they're trying to. A lot of time it's with people that are losing weight or they're trying to hitting like mid 30s or 40s and they want to try and get their body back. Is you think everything's surface level, and I think a lot of people that have got mental health issues that turn to exercise and all these things that are prescribed to them to improve their mental health. They focus so much in the exterior about like just training the physical. They don't train the mind at the same time. And I think a big portion of training is that you don't just train your body and put yourself through things. You also train your mind, and that you teach yourself to become strong. You become your own self-believer. You know, like when you're doing them last 3 reps on a squat, and it's absolute agony. And it's easy to just say, all right, I'm done now. I'll save it for the next set. But instead, you're like, no, fuck it. Push it to the end. Like, let's go. Let's do another one. And you think, fuck it, let's go again. And you keep pushing and keep pushing. And I think when you sort of have this internal battle in your head where you're saying like, no, stop. And you overcome that, saying, no, fuck that, let's keep going. And you push through it. That itself it's almost like you're just forging this inner beast, or you're forging this inner strength. Do you know what I mean? You're building a solid house inside you. And I think that goes a long way. Do you know what I mean? That's where that confidence comes from, because you don't need external reinforcement from them.
No, because you gained it yourself, and your body, hormonal, chemical-wise, will reward you for what you push through, won't it?
Can you relate to that?
Yeah, but also as me, I always say the thing of, you know, training's good, training is a massive help, but there's a lot of other hours in your day, and I've met a lot of people who are good at training, can go to the gym, smash it out, feel good, then they're a mess the rest of the day. I'm not saying training is brilliant, training has a big impact, it's one side, but there's 2 sides. There's your training side, which is your physical body, how good you feel for that hour, but it's the rest of your day, what you're doing with the rest of your life, you know, your purpose for the rest of the day, what you're doing on the weekend. You know, loads of people, you'll be in the gym all week and go and get wrecked on a weekend. They're still not dealt with that, so I always say it's the 2 sides. I've met a lot of men in my life who are good trainers, you know, they've been fighters, rugby players, train hard, smash it through, absolute mental wrecks. Still go out every weekend, caught, drink, drugs, you know, unhappy relationships at home, not really with the friends. So it's getting them 2 sides. I've always spoken about myself as, you know, training's one, but can you master the other side? Because very few men master both. There's some who master training, good at it, but they master their own life, the rest of their life, you know, the headspace they're in the rest of the day, and being able to be in a good and positive place for the rest of the day, not just that hour when you train, and be able to go fuel it with anger, train, get that buzz, feel good, be able to smash through more reps, and you go out the rest of your day and you're a mess, you're not doing anything positive, and you know, you're in your own head and in a bad place. So a big point I'm a big believer on is, you know, the 2 sides of it.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying there. So like, what I took from that was like everything that you're doing to yourself and your body has an impact on your mind.
Yeah.
Like, so like, me and you are very, you know, familiar with like the food you eat itself dictates how healthy you are, but it also plays a role on your mind. For example, if you're throwing loads of drugs in and loads of alcohol in your mind, you're gonna feel a certain way the next day. You know, you're not gonna be the best version of yourself. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of you that are listening can relate. When you go out on a piss one night, you have a lot of heavy drinking. The next night, you can't really be bothered at doing anything. You're not really got great motivation. You're not bouncing out of bed, are you? You're not like, right, let's attack the day today. You know, let's go make £1 million, or like, you're not really motivated. You're sort of like a bit victimized, aren't you? You know, you feel like just chilling. You might want to get a lot of crappy food because you know your body's craving salt. You're in a bit of a negative sort of low motivation, low vibrational sort of state, aren't you? And you just sort of, in a sense, you want to feed those negative sort of habits, like eat shit food, lounge about, not do much, not really move. If you can motivate yourself to get up and go to the gym, you're going to start off in a great place anyway that day, and almost like not let that phase you. But mentally, the mental battle is different. Like, it's different from when if you didn't drink, you would be in a different place. So that alone, just drinking alone, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to know the effects of that. So try and extrapolate that out and try and magnify that by taking drugs. Now, if you've taken drugs before, then you'll understand what I'm going through. Like, I know a lot of people that take a lot of cocaine. Like, cocaine drives these days. You know, people getting on sniff. having a drink, and you can't have a drink without getting on, getting on it, and then
you're asking to feel suicidal, and going down that road, and
you start messing with cocktails like that, and it's one way.
You give yourself the suicide road there, and you literally like drink. I think there's 1 in 5 chance that in every drinker, 5 times more likely to feel depressed or suicidal anyway. You throw the drugs in on the top, you got that extra high and the extra anxiety. You're not giving yourself much hope in life to feel good, are you?
No, exactly. And then even like if you smoke weed, don't get me wrong, I've done my fair share of endeavouring and that. But the thing is that it's the same again. You got low vibration, low sort of get go, if you will. You're not driven. And it again, you can get in your own head and become a bit paranoid if you're overdoing it. If you're only weak-minded, it's only going to feed that insecurity anyway. And so, it's all this sort of like, it takes away from you. And so, like you're saying, the training might help, and the training does help. If you're not training your brain to be confident, then you're not going to build up confidence. You become, you sort of adapt to your surroundings, don't you? Wherever your environment is, you can become confident in that environment. The more and more you put yourself in that place, and that's where you take yourself out your comfort zone. Try new places, and you become confident in that place. But I think, like you just said, then is the foods you eat have a massive impact on you. So the important lesson is to eat well, making sure you're eating well. With the drugs or anything like that, you've got to always find balance, or just not do it. If it's not for you, just admit it's not for you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I always say to people, the thing that changed my life forever was never drinking again. Because Sunday morning, I'm up 10 to 7, do my morning routine, out for a walk, out for training, going to church with it, people's thing or not. And by 12 o'clock, I've done 5 or 6 things to make my life a better place, where most people just get out of bed. It's a win-win. Still go out with people, I can still go out, we went out of the week, drink Pepsi Max, whatever. Still have a good time, because I know I don't have to drink to be confident and to prove myself to other people.
Yeah.
And I'm not weak enough to give in to it. People say, have a drink, or give the soft talk for not drinking. My life's better and better than that. I've been to them places, and drinking isn't a strength, isn't something to be proud of. You know what I mean? If you want to have a few on a Saturday night, fine. It's not something to be proud of. That thing you're living your life just to get pissed on a Saturday night. The world's a better place, and there's more to you. You have more potential than just being happy for them 5 hours under the influence.
That comes into escapism though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People are not happy with their life, and therefore, a lot of time in the weekend, because they've got no purpose, it tends to lead into just mindless drinking and stuff like that. Or just going out and looking for some sort of party or some sort of excitement. And it can be in any sort of shape. It doesn't have to just be drinking, it could be whatever it might be. But so bringing this back then, like on a sort of confidence front. So that in itself is a quite powerful message, because what I interpreted there is that you can say no at any point, especially when it comes to drinking. Now, a lot of people will struggle to do that. A lot of people struggle just to say no to drinking, because it's quite, there's a lot of social pressure. So, like, what's led you to stop drinking? And a second question on that is, like, how have you built that confidence up to say no in those situations?
So, what led me to stopping drinking was obviously after the incident on the night out and messing up my rugby career, spiraled into the habits of taking drugs. One night out, I made the silly mistake of taking two ecstasy pills. Started feeling really strange. I was racing, couldn't breathe. And I always remember at the same time, it popped in my head, Sheldon, 2 lads in Wigan had died doing the same things. And I started to feel funny, feel really strange. I thought, oh my God, Joe, you've done the same. I actually thought I was about to die.
Oh, so
walked into hospital. Walked into hospital. Looked at their looked at me and said, no, you're all right, just a massive panic attack. But I thought, what are you doing? You absolute Joe. Everything you had in life, everything you could have been, and just because that one incident, you spiraled to come into this weak person in such a low state. Get a grip. So now I look at alcohol. You put all the free alcohol in the world in front of me. I'll never touch it. I associate too much pain with it. It's that confidence of I'm better than that. I don't need that to be a good person, to have a good life, to have a good laugh. I believe that my life is better than where it was, and I know I'm better than that place. And nobody, no matter who they are, can have the influence on me to drag me back down to that place. People in the family, I'll obviously still drink when I'm out. Friends will, but it doesn't bother me. I'll never ever go back to looking at that stuff, and especially now with helping people, mate, it always seems to be the same issue. Something bad happens, they turn to drink, drugs, end up in a real bad place. Or the people who go through something really bad but aren't really into drink seem to get through it a lot better. I see it all the time, the amount of pain it causes people.
Yeah.
And then I think of probably, like to people like yourself who good personalities, our friends in the gym, and like my mum and dad who, just drink normally, and I look at them and think, better company with drink, it doesn't bring any positives. It might make them a bit rough the morning after, or one time I might take it too far and end up a bit drunk, but they're no better to be around. They're no more fun. I'm not rather want to be with them than the drunk to sober. I think, what is the point in it? What's the positive?
I get that.
It's just, I want to be up early the next day and attacking my day, and to stay up till all hours or be rough the next day. I couldn't cope with the anxiety of it. I'm just so excited by where my life can go. I'm so determined to use them faults of mine to make sure there's a change in the world, make sure the world becomes a better place through my faults.
Yeah.
So
delivering your message.
Yeah. It's that determination that keeps me in that place with it and gives me that confidence.
Definitely. So what's sort of like your tip then on like people who struggle to sort of say no in them circumstances or struggle to let the drink go? Like how did you overcome that?
Well,
because that in itself takes a lot of willpower and a lot of confidence to be able to say that, like in situations like circumstances.
You need to have the honest conversation with yourself about what pain the drink's causing you in life. So, if you're in that place at the minute where you're going out on a weekend, you're not training until Wednesday, or you're not going after your dream goals, or causing problems in your relationship, you need to sit down and be honest with yourself about how much pain it's causing you.
Yeah.
And realise and look about where your life could be without it. But be honest and be as dramatic as possible. If you carry on drinking, you could lose your relationship, you could waste your life. Look upon it from your deathbed at 18, you're looking back, you still carried on drinking, you still carried on making the mistakes. How much are you going to regret it? That was the thing for me. I didn't want to regret my life. I wanted to make sure I had the best life and didn't look back on regrets. If you're in that place, think about how would you regret and still carrying on making them silly mistakes, and also think how much better your life could be without it. How proud of yourself you'd be if you went out and didn't give in and you could say no to people. How confident you would feel that you could say, no, you want to drink, crack on, I'm going this way. How much better you'd feel getting up early, and what you could do on a Sunday. Like working weeks where most people are busy and working long hours, but if you're productive on a Sunday and get up early and get some things done, you're a step ahead of everybody else. Everybody else thinks, Sunday, I need a rest, can't be bothered on a Sunday. If you're up early, smashing it, doing things on a Sunday, 2 steps ahead of the game before Monday even hits, and you're just that much more likely to become successful.
I think you hit the sort of nail on the head there in what you're saying, is that having a purpose. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to go wrong. And now, the reason I'm here is because, what I'm trying to do is help men out there become more purposeful. We live in a world now where it's tough to be a man. It's tough for all of us, like men and women. But the burden of performance is on a man. You've got to become high value in life just to be of a standard. Yeah. And if that's not to attract a woman, because women's standards have gone up, man. They're going up like inflation is at the minute. You know what I mean? And so, literally, it's a joke. But this is the way it is. To be an average man is not going to cut it. You've got to be above average. So my message is obviously to try and help men become a bit more purposeful, get the fitness on point, because that brings high value in itself, and that's the quickest way to become more high valuable. Get your fitness on point, build some muscle. In that, train yourself to be mentally strong, become more masculine, do you know what I mean? And have that unstoppable confidence. And so, like, when you wasting time every weekend, smashing yourself, getting smashed, and wasting your weekends, like you're saying, you're having more purpose about your life. You're working in a business, you're working in a job, or you're having some sort of meaning by contributing and helping people. Like, that in itself brings back more purpose in your life, and having that will give you more confidence. And I think it sort of fuels whatever it is that you're trying to do. But again, ultimately, it brings it full circle back into you become more of a high value. And that's what it all comes down to. And I think when you're saying, like, you have more purpose, and you related that the opposite to fulfilling your purpose to all the pain you'd had. And by feeding that pain, you could see that it was going to go down a shit road, and you didn't want to go back there. Like, it only led to negative stuff. Even just having one drop of drink would take you all the way back and lead into that shit sort of cycle. And so you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. I've got more purpose about me. I'm a better man than that.
It's a pain. I believe pain is the biggest motivator. People
for
drink
men,
more.
yeah. For men, definitely.
People drink more to avoid pain. They want a bit of an escape from the pain in their head. But you can switch it on its head, and it's the drink that's causing you pain. That's why I'll avoid it. So we're always avoiding pain. We're always trying to avoid pain and gain pleasure. But we sometimes turn to negatives to avoid the pain. So we're trying to get away from where we're at in our head and it causes us more pain instead of turning to positive things and
using that to build you up.
we're using it to build us up and motivate us to drive us to do better things instead of motivate us down the wrong paths.
Definitely.
You know, because we're looking at the wrong things to make us feel better and to escape the pain in our lives.
I mean, I'm going to go back to sort of talking about like the whole bullying situation. The bullying situation induces pain and trauma, and I'm a firm believer that everything that I've become today, or the man I've become today, the confidence I've gained today, you know, being so driven into fitness and my martial arts or whatever it might be, it's all come from pain. And I look at other guys that tend to be a bit more a bit more average or a bit more pushovers who don't have great bodies. A lot of them have had a life of comfort, and it's been constant comfort and looking for the sort of easy way. And I think as a man, the more you put yourself in hard situations, the more you put yourself through pain, the more you are tested, you only become better. So I think in your message there, where you're saying like a lot of people drive away from the pain, but it ends up leading into other things, I think it sort of sells itself. Like you've got to go through some pain. And even your journey itself, you started off where you've come to adversity, where you've been challenged by a group of mates, they've beat you, and then that pain has driven you to what, excel yourself in certain areas. You know, you become a bit of a, you know, a warrior in itself. You've manned up, let's just call it as it is. You've said it, you know, you've manned up, and then you've gained the ability to overcome. You've gained that confidence to overcome challenges. And I think the more you go through that, it just shows in itself. You can overcome more and more and more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The purpose is a good point, mate, too. You don't think about how important the purpose is.
Of course it is, yeah. Having a purpose, definitely.
I always tell the story, something I came across when I was going into the mindset world, reading about Viktor Frankl, an Auschwitz survivor. And I love this. He used to say that as soon as somebody lost a purpose in Auschwitz, the reasons led to die the next day. He said it wasn't physical in there, it was mental.
Wow.
And he'd always tell a story about one of his friends had this dream one day. He said, well, he woke up, he was buzzing, he's like, we're going to be released on the 28th of the month, let's say. He said, I've seen it in a dream, going to be released. He said, this guy was buzzing around the camp. He said, the Nazis could do what they wanted to him. He said, that day came when he had the dream that he was going to be released. They didn't get released. He died the next day. And it always struck me that, and the saying of, a man can bear any how as long as he has a why. Yeah. So when you're still going to have problems, me and you now still have problems, challenges, people will let us down, we're going to have hardships, but because our purpose is that strong, we'll just bounce it off and get through it because we just want to help that much. We want the world to be a better place, we want our lives to be a better place, so we're just going to shrug it off. But if you've no reason to keep going, you're not going to get through them times.
Yeah. You've got to give yourself that reason. And I think that in itself builds confidence, doesn't it?
100%, yeah.
Having a purpose in itself, having that brings in self-belief. When you've got a purpose, you believe in yourself, and I think, like you just said, then the day you stop believing in yourself is the day you sort of your own demise comes in. So I think definitely confidence comes from self-belief. And self-belief in itself, you know, we've all got that. I think that's that internal talk, and I think this is where you develop your own confidence. That self-talk's the biggest thing for me that I've found has built my confidence. And some people, I mean, you know, we're all can be shy in our own ways, but I think in some instances, I think some people can be intimidated by confidence as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had some people say to me like, you know, you're a bit overconfident. You in X, Y, and Z situation. Not in every, but in certain situations. And I'd almost take it as a compliment in a sense that like, why should you not be confident? I mean, like, what's the opposite to that? Like, I would have rather be weak or not confident. Do you know what I mean? I think. But that's all come from self-talk, and it's all come from believing in myself. And we all have that self-talk, all of us. You know, I almost sort of relate it to having three people in your own head. You've got your bitch voice, and you've got your warrior voice, and then there's you listening as a sort of third party, and you sort of allow them sort of thoughts to sort of take on board your personality. You sort of hear like, oh no, let's not do this, or let's not get in a cold shower. It's fucking freezing. I don't want to do that. And you almost think it's you, if you will, but it's almost like people call it your conscience or whatnot. But it's straight up your bitch voice. The more you listen to that bitch voice, the easier it is to listen to that bitch voice and bitch out stuff. The more you listen to that warrior inside and you feed that. That's your inner belief. You know, you feed that warrior voice, that inner belief. It's got no limits. Do you know what I mean?
Whatever you feed grows.
Whatever you feed grows, mate.
So when you're going about self-talk, what do you mean by just by not giving into that voice, or do you mean a lot of people are talk negatively about themselves? Do you mean never saying a negative word about yourself? You know, how many people say I can't do this, can't do that, I'm no good at this. You'll never say I can't do nothing. There's something you're not sure at, you'll just find a way, improve, learn, grow.
100%, yeah. You sort of become a problem solver opposed to like, you become, in that sense, you become more solution-based orientated opposed to looking for excuses, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you hit something really good there, like, there's loads of avenues you go into it, because there's self-talk in your head, and then there's sort of like goal setting, where you set yourself little goals and you build yourself confidence in that by setting yourself little challenges, do you know what I mean? And there was something else you said there.
Well, it's about the thing of saying, you know, I can't, because I think that's
the language you use. That was it. The language you use on a day-to-day basis. That as well has a massive impact.
So powerful. I think it was saying to you, the stat I loved that I found was about a negative thought to a positive thought. A negative thought is 4 to 7 more times powerful than a positive thought, and spoken out loud is a further 10 times as powerful. So I would say, if you're telling yourself you can't do something, no wonder you can't. You're never going to be able to do it. It's game over. Job done. You've lost. And but it's a common thing. Your kids go into exams, can't do this, can't do maths. Don't say it.
Yeah.
But most people do, don't they? Tell themselves every day, I'm not good at this. I always attract the wrong things. It's always my luck. Well, that's why they keep having that shit luck, because they keep saying them things out loud.
Exactly.
It's that powerful because your mind believes it.
You sort of, it's that old saying, and I can't remember who to quote it was, is if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, or you won't. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's as simple as that. You sort of decide in your own mind where things are going to go. So I think the ultimate sort of message is like, you've got to have that undeniable self-belief, and that comes over time from you challenging yourself and then reinforcing that from feedback from other people or from yourself, and then challenging yourself again, and then keep training that self-talk. You know, don't use words like can't and try. Like, I think try is another shit one that makes no sense. You know, you're either doing something or you're not. You can't fucking try, can you? It's like trying to drive a car. I'm trying to drive. Well, you're either driving or you're not driving. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them, like, you can say, let's try and do a bicep curl. Try and pick up that dumbbell there. Try and pick it up. But if you go and grab it, you've not tried, you've picked it up. And if I say, well, try and pick it up, and you don't pick it up, well, you're not trying. You're just not picking it up. So there's no in between. You're either picking it up or you're not picking it up. Do you know what I mean? So trying again is another word like can't. And I think in itself, the language you use for yourself is a big, powerful sort of tool. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are not aware of that. But anyway, you're going to say something then, go on.
Well, I was going to say about ways about making it easier to be confident. Well, I was going to jump onto environment, or about a little way to make it easier about having people around you.
Get into that.
So going back to making it easier to be confident, you know, the stat is you are 95% likely to be your environment, and if you're in an environment where people are smashing their own lives, being positive and tapping you on the back, it's easier to feel confident than it is an environment where people are trying to drag you down and not doing good with their lives. It is a massive thing, and something that people really struggle with when they get it wrong, or elevates people a lot quicker when they get it right. Wouldn't you say, have you found that in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having the right kind of people around you massively makes a difference. And especially if they're, you know, positive people. I mean, the old saying goes, and we've all heard of it, you know, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. If them people aren't, if they're not your biggest cheerleaders, if they ain't building you up, if they ain't bigging you up, if they ain't helping you, and they're only holding you back or giving you like negative sort of habits to do, they're dragging you out at weekends and getting pissed. They're getting jealous of you because you look, you know, good in a t-shirt. Like, they're not your people, man.
Or not holding you accountable. If you're messing up and they're not telling you straight, sort your shit out.
Exactly.
That's what you want in a friend. It's, you know, a friend who's there in the rough times, a friend who's not scared of getting your back up by telling you straight, and you know, compared to a friend who'll just let you mess up and just laugh it off because it's funny. They're the people, you know, like, I find you as a bloke, the people you want around you in life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Likewise. The thing is, it's like this: if the people around you aren't happy as that you're winning, then they're not your people. Secretly, they're saying stuff behind you, or they want you to fail. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They've got to want you to win. Like, everyone around me that I have, I want them to win. Do you know what I mean? And if they're not winning, I'm going to end up pushing them to try to become more of a winner. Do you know what I mean? Because again, you want some of the 5 people you spend the time with. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. Yeah.
So yeah, Joe, I really appreciate everything you said today,
What a
mate.
pleasure
You've
it's
got,
been, mate.
yeah, you've got an amazing story, and I think you're doing a lot of great work of helping people. But you've got your own podcast as well, haven't you? You've done your own podcast.
I did a few last year, mate, but now mainly just focusing on going into the schools, giving out my motivational talks, and getting my book out there, From Dark Nights to Brighter Days. You know, to get the message out there and show people how they can turn their life around by working on themselves, being honest with themselves, and it's all in being in your own hands, really.
Sweet. So where can people find your book?
JoeCollinsHealth.com.
Sweet. So I'll put a link in underneath in the description, so you can find that book. Guys, check out the book, give it a read, and change your life with that one. And where else can everyone find you as well? Like you've got your socials.
Yeah,
and stuff like
Instagram at Joe the Life Coaching PT. Same on Facebook and TikTok.
that. Sweet.
Yeah.
TikTok specialist. Not just that, you can find both of us down at Transform Gym in Wigan as well if you want to book in with Joe, see him for a mentor session, or it might be for a training session. So get yourself down there as well. Joe, appreciate you coming on, mate. It's been a great chat as always. I'll take care, guys.